All right, I know what you're saying. All this fancy talk about horror movies is neat and all, but when do we get to see the monster? Well, you're in luck, you sickos. Horror may come from the imagination, but the monster comes from a warehouse in North Hollywood. And it's the masters of makeup that bring them to life. Now, one of the greatest monsters ever was created right before our eyes in John Landis' An American Werewolf in London. A movie that sparked a revolution and showed us like never before that horror was indeed changing.
My generation that got interested, people like Dennis Murin, who now runs ILM, or Rick Baker, these guys had a love for the genre. And there's this weird change. It starts in the early 70s and works its way through, which was, you always saw these low-budget movies, but they were pretty well scripted, pretty well acted, pretty well directed, until you cut to the bad rubber monster, because they had no money to spend on that. Or you'd cut to the rocket ship, which would go, you know. Then starting in the 70s, New World Pictures and stuff, suddenly with people like Rob Bottin and Rick Baker and you know, these new, I'm trying to think, Craig Reardon, there's so many of them. Phil Tippett. I mean, these incredibly craftspeople coming up. You had this weird thing, which was bad movies, poorly made, but fantastic monsters. The monsters were great. The rocket ships were so slick, you know. It was just weird. And now, because of Lucas and Spielberg, the Jaws and Star Wars phenomenon, suddenly B pictures are now A pictures. Now, there is no such thing as B product. It's all crap.
Yeah, horror movies are what got me into this. I mean, you know, like I said earlier, the Universal horror movies, especially all the great work that Jack Pierce once did, was what inspired me to make monsters for a living. Basically, that's what I wanted to do, is be the monster maker. We have some stuff from a movie that's I'm very fond of, which is American Werewolf in London. I first found out about American Werewolf in London when I was doing Schlock, which was John Landis' first film.
So I wanted to make a low-budget movie about low-budget movies. And it was my great good fortune to find Rick Baker, actually. So I was 21 and he was 20, and for $60,000, half of which was mine, and the other half we got from relatives, my relatives and people, we made Schlock.
John played the Schlock-Thropus, a missing link type character.
Partly to save money, which was my real reason, and then partly because Schlock, the evolution of that project is that my original intention was to have a pretty bad gorilla suit. And when I saw Rick's stuff, which is, you know, this kid with long hair, his models on the walls, his work was so superior. This guy was so obviously an artist and so good that suddenly Schlock, now I look at the movie, and as bad as it is, I mean, the thing that works in it is Schlock, you know, and it works because Rick, his makeup, you could do such expressive stuff. And I wanted a particular kind of performance, and, you know, all the actors were amateurs, and so I figured, I'll be Schlock. Because, no, I don't think anyone else would have sat through that makeup, dude. The demands on that makeup were ridiculous, because even if I didn't appear as the monster until the afternoon, Rick and I still had to get up at 2 in the morning, and he had 4 hours putting it on, and then I directed as this ape all day, you know.
And John was telling me that his next film was going to be this film that he'd already written at that time. He was 21 years old. His next film was going to be An American Werewolf in London.
I gave him the script in 1971, so he had a long time. I mean, we made the movie in 81. And so he had a long time to think about it. This is before CG, you know, and...
He wanted to do a transformation in a way that had never been done before. He said he didn't seem to him right that if you're going to change into a werewolf, that you would sit down in a chair like Lon Chaney Jr. did and, you know, plant your head in the corner of the chair so that you would stay still and not move until the transformation was complete. He really felt that it would be painful, and he wanted to show the pain, and he wanted him to be able to writhe all around in agony.
It was very difficult what I said, what I wanted for Rick, which was that in the script it's specific about how painful it is. It's not a pleasant experience. Also that it be in bright light, harsh light actually, which is very unfair to a makeup.
And so he said, so figure it out. So I said, okay, cool, because I've always, you know, the Universal horror films always, you know, it's what started me in the business. And I always liked that transformation stuff, and I loved Werewolf, so I couldn't wait to sink my teeth into this one. And we ended up doing what we called change-o heads and change-o hands and change-o backs for the transformations, where we actually made, this is the #2 change-o head. We had a head that resembled a makeup that David wore. And this head had little, like, pneumatic rams that would actually push forms out and push the muzzle forward and the cheekbones, and it would actually physically change shape right in front of the lens. There were no opticals involved, which made for a kind of a disappointing shoot. We shot this in post-production. We finished the whole film. They had the wrap party, and then the next day we filmed the transformation with a smaller crew. And it was really, you know, we'd get the camera set up, and John would say action, and the head would go, okay, cut. And he goes, oh, I think we got that, you know. And it's like, you think we got that? We spend months on this, and that's it, you know. So. Something that I liked about this, I really liked the second stage change-o head. What I did was there's two sides to it. It's very asymmetrical. This side over here is much more like the final wolf. It has a lot of the forms of the final wolf, and it's transformed more. This side is the more human side, and it's got more of what David looked like, and it's got a little more sympathy to it. It's a little sadder. This side's a little more evil. And this is one of the, I think we made 3 or 4 heads for American Werewolf in London. This is one of the wolf heads. John Landis wanted the wolf to be a you know, demon dog from hell, basically. He wanted a 4-legged wolf. I was really pushing for a biped wolf, a 2-legged werewolf.
Yeah, I wanted the werewolf to be 4-footed. I wanted it to be a big wolf monster. It just was really ferocious looking, and it would just, you know, be like this. You know, that Rick or whoever, Elaine, whoever was working it, like Rick would be holding it, and all he had to do was go like that, and you'd go, ah! You know, it really had tremendous life, and it was great. Rick and I disagree totally, but I think I showed it too much. I was very enamored of his work. I thought it was great, and I think I showed it too much, but he doesn't.
This particular head we used in the sequence in the moors where it first attacked Griffin Dunn. And it was like in the middle of the night, it was freezing cold, and I'm puppeteering this head. It's got like this big kind of scissor thing inside that makes the mouth work.
It was essentially basically a simple puppet, you know, but he's beautifully sculpted.
The very first take, Griffin really got very into attacking and, you know, fighting with his wolf. The very first take, he grabbed onto the side of his face and completely pulled the foam rubber skin off the skull. So I'm out in the middle of no place, freezing cold, had to repair the damn thing. So the next take, I got my revenge on Griffin. So when I was puppeteering the thing, I was beating it out of him, basically, you know, so. We also had these things that we called Nazi demons, as they were called in the script. And I wasn't quite sure what a Nazi demon was. But I always liked the shape of those Nazi helmets, so the first thing I did was kind of sculpt this helmet, and then I did a number of different designs. Some of them based on, you know, looking in the mirror. One of them was this kind of bald guy with this kind of sideways grimacy face. And I did another one that was kind of a rotted wolf, like a werewolf, a rotten kind of werewolf kind of guy. A couple different crazy. Then another one was pretty much like a werewolfy kind of deal. It was just kind of like, you know, fun monsters with Nazi helmets and knives and guns and stuff, you know. It was a fun sequence to shoot. John likes to blow up things, you know, so we had a lot of fun in that.